The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, sending crystal shards skittering across the ballroom like tiny diamonds. Every head in the Metropolitan Grand Hall turned toward the sound. Elena Martinez stood frozen, her ex-husband's hand still gripping her wrist, his face twisted with contempt as he spoke words loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're pathetic, Elena. You always were and you always will be. A nobody pretending to be somebody." The room had gone deadly silent. 300 of New York's elite society members watched as Marcus Thornton, self-made millionaire and rising business star, publicly humiliated the woman he'd divorced 2 years ago. His new wife, Crystal, stood beside him, her designer dress glittering under the chandeliers, a cruel smile playing on her surgically enhanced lips. Elena's heart hammered in her chest. She could feel the weight of every stare, every whispered judgment, every phone being discreetly raised to capture this moment for social media. This wasn't how tonight was supposed to go. She'd come to support the Children's Education Foundation, the charity she'd been quietly funding for years. She tried to slip in unnoticed, bid on a few items, and leave. But Marcus had found her, and now he was determined to destroy what little dignity she had left. "Let go of me," Elena said quietly, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. Marcus laughed, a sharp bark that echoed through the silent ballroom. "Or what? You'll make a scene? Oh wait, you already are a scene." The sad ex-wife who couldn't keep her husband happy. At that exact moment, the grand ballroom doors burst open with such force that they slammed against the walls. 3 men strode through the entrance with the kind of presence that made security guards step aside without being asked. They wore suits that cost more than most people's cars, their faces carved from stone, their eyes scanning the crowd with predatory focus. The whispers started immediately, rippling through the crowd like wildfire. "Is that Alexander Martinez? Oh my God. That's the Martinez brothers. What are they doing here?" Marcus's grip on Elena's wrist loosened slightly as he turned to see what the commotion was about. His face, so full of arrogant satisfaction just seconds ago, began to drain of color as the 3 men cut through the crowd like sharks through water, every eye in the room tracking their movement. They were heading straight for Elena. If you're already hooked, do us a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. You won't believe where this story goes. And drop a comment telling us what you think is about to happen. Let's get into it. The tallest of the 3 men, with jet black hair touched with silver at the temples and eyes like dark ice, reached Elena first. He looked at Marcus's hand still gripping her wrist, and something dangerous flickered across his face. "Remove your hand from my sister," Alexander Martinez said, his voice quiet but carrying the weight of absolute authority. "Now." The word sister hit the ballroom like a bomb. Gasps erupted from every corner. Marcus's mouth fell open, his hand dropping from Elena's wrist as if she'd suddenly caught fire. "You're... what?" Marcus stammered, looking between Elena and the 3 men who now formed a protective wall around her. The second brother, slightly shorter but with the same aristocratic features and an aura of calculated intelligence, stepped forward. Sebastian Martinez adjusted his cufflinks with deliberate precision, his smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Our sister," Sebastian said slowly, as if speaking to a child. "Elena Mercedes Martinez, of the Martinez family. Surely you've heard of us." The third brother, Nicholas, the youngest but perhaps the most intimidating with his cold green eyes and athletic build, pulled out his phone and made a call without breaking eye contact with Marcus. "Yes, it's Nicholas Martinez. Pull all Martinez Global Investments from Thornton Enterprises. Immediately. I don't care what time it is. Do it now." Marcus's face went from pale to ashen. "Wait, you can't do that. You can't just. We can do whatever we want," Alexander said, his arm moving protectively around Elena's shoulders. "The question is, what gave you the impression you could publicly humiliate our sister without consequences?" Elena closed her eyes, a mixture of relief and mortification washing over her. She'd spent 5 years keeping her family identity secret from Marcus, wanting to be loved for herself and not her family's billions. She'd asked her brothers to stay out of her marriage and her divorce, to let her handle it with dignity. They'd respected her wishes, even though it had killed them to watch from the sidelines. But apparently there were limits to their patience. Crystal, Marcus's new wife, tried to salvage the situation with a nervous laugh. "This is ridiculous. Elena doesn't have any brothers." She told Marcus she was an only child. Sebastian turned his attention to her, and Crystal actually took a step back. She told him she was an only child because she wanted to see if he would love her without knowing she was heiress to an $8.7 billion fortune. Clearly, that was too much to ask. The number 8.7 billion rippled through the crowd in shocked whispers. Phone cameras were now openly recording. This was going to be all over social media within minutes, and everyone in the room knew it. Marcus's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "Elena, you never told me. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because it shouldn't have mattered," Elena said, finding her voice. Came out stronger than she felt. "I wanted you to love me for who I am, not what my family has. And clearly, we can all see how that worked out," Nicholas said, pocketing his phone. "Tell me, Mr. Thornton, what exactly were you saying to our sister when we walked in? Something about her being pathetic? A nobody?" Marcus looked around wildly, as if searching for an escape route. The crowd had pressed closer, drawn by the drama like moths to a flame. Some faces showed sympathy for Elena, others showed barely concealed glee at Marcus's downfall, and a few showed calculation as they reassessed their business relationships with the Thornton and Martinez families. We were having a private conversation," Marcus tried. "In the middle of a ballroom? In front of 300 witnesses." Alexander's eyebrow raised slightly. "That's an interesting definition of private." A distinguished older woman pushed through the crowd. Margaret Chen, CEO of Chen Industries and one of the most powerful women in New York, approached Elena with a warm smile that turned icy when she glanced at Marcus. "Elena, darling, I had no idea you were Martinez. I've been following your work at the Riverside Gallery for years. Your curation is exceptional." She air-kissed Elena's cheeks, then looked at the brothers. "Alexander, Sebastian, Nicholas. Good to see the family together. Your sister is extraordinarily talented." "We know," all three brothers said in unison, making Elena crack the smallest smile despite the situation. Margaret turned to Marcus with a look of disdain. "Mr. Thornton, I believe we had a meeting scheduled next week about the Chen-Thornton merger. Consider it cancelled. Chen Industries doesn't do business with men who disrespect women." She walked away, leaving Marcus looking like he'd been slapped. That opened the floodgates. One by one, business leaders approached Elena to pay their respects and pointedly ignored Marcus. Each interaction was a nail in his professional coffin, and everyone in the room understood the message. Disrespect Elena Martinez, and you're done in New York business circles. Crystal grabbed Marcus's arm, her voice rising with panic. "Marcus, do something. They're destroying you." "There's nothing he can do," Nicholas said matter-of-factly. "Did you know the Martinez Foundation owns 40% of Thornton Enterprises through Shell Investments? We've been major shareholders for about 18 months now. Right around the time we learned he was treating our sister poorly." Marcus's legs seemed to give out slightly. He grabbed the back of a nearby chair for support. "That's impossible. I would have known. The shareholder reports. Shell companies within shell companies," Sebastian explained with a casual shrug. "It's not illegal, just smart business. We wanted to keep an eye on things after the divorce. Make sure you weren't doing anything that might hurt our sister's interests. And now," Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. "Now?" Alexander smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Now we're reconsidering our investment strategy. It seems Thornton Enterprises might not be the stable opportunity we thought it was." Elena felt the situation spiraling, felt her ex-husband crumbling in front of 300 people, and despite everything he'd done to her, despite the years of subtle put-downs and the cruel divorce, she felt a twinge of something that might have been pity. "Alexander," she said softly, touching her oldest brother's arm. "That's enough." "No, Hermana, it's not nearly enough," Alexander replied, but his voice softened when he looked at her. "He called you pathetic. He called you a nobody. In front of all these people. Did you think we were going to let that stand? I was handling it. You were handling it with too much grace, Nicholas interjected. Someone needed to teach him that actions have consequences. The charity event coordinator, a nervous young woman named Amanda, approached with a clipboard clutched to her chest like a shield. Excuse me, Mr. Thornton, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is a charity event, and your behavior has been inappropriate. I'm a donor, Marcus protested weakly. I gave $50,000. Elena donated $2 million anonymously, Amanda said, reading from her clipboard. And the Martinez Foundation just pledged an additional $10 million in her name. So I think we'll be fine without your $50,000. The crowd applauded. Some people even cheered. Marcus's face went from ashen to crimson with humiliation. Crystal looked ready to bolt, her eyes darting toward the exits. This is insane, Crystal hissed at Marcus. You told me she was nothing. You said she was just some gallery worker who couldn't handle your success. I didn't know, Marcus said, his voice breaking. How was I supposed to know? Maybe by respecting her regardless of her bank account? Sebastian suggested. Just a thought. Elena stepped away from her brother's protective circle, drawing all eyes to her. She'd been quiet for too long, letting others fight her battles. The old Elena, the one who'd hidden her identity and accepted Marcus's subtle cruelties to keep the peace, would have stayed silent. But that Elena was gone, burned away by 2 years of rebuilding herself from the ashes of a failed marriage. You want to know why I never told you about my family, Marcus? Elena's voice cut through the murmurs. The ballroom went silent again, everyone straining to hear. Because I wanted to know if you could love someone without their money being part of the equation. My whole life, I watched people treat my family differently because of our wealth. Friends who weren't really friends. Partners who weren't really partners. Just people who wanted access to power and money. She took a step toward him and Marcus actually backed up. When I met you, you were building your company from nothing. You were hungry, driven, and you seemed genuine. I fell in love with the man who worked 18-hour days and still found time to bring me coffee at the gallery. The man who said my passion for art was beautiful even if it didn't make money. Marcus opened his mouth, but Elena held up her hand. I'm not finished. That man disappeared the moment your company went public. Suddenly, I wasn't ambitious enough. I wasn't polished enough. I didn't fit the image of what a CEO's wife should be. You didn't divorce me because we fell out of love. You divorced me because I wasn't an asset to your social climbing anymore. That's not fair, Marcus protested. You never wanted to come to business dinners. You hated the networking events. Because they were fake, Elena shot back. Everyone pretending to be friends while calculating what they could get from each other. That's not the life I wanted. But it's the life you craved so desperately that you threw away something real to chase it. We're just getting started with this story, and it gets even better. Make sure you hit that like button if you're enjoying this, and comment below with your thoughts on Marcus. Did he deserve this? Let us know. Crystal stepped forward, her voice shrill. This is pathetic. You're just bitter because Marcus upgraded. Look at me, then look at you. No contest. Nicholas laughed, a sound devoid of humor. Upgraded? Is that what we're calling it? Let me educate you on a few things, Mrs. Thornton. That dress you're wearing? Counterfeit. We own the fashion house, and I can spot a fake from across the room. Those diamonds? Cubic zirconia. That tan? Spray tan and not a good one. And that accent you're trying to pass off as old money? You grew up in Jersey. We know. We have a file on you 3 inches thick. Crystal's face went bright red. You have no right. We have every right to know who's marrying into our sister's former life, Sebastian said. Due diligence. It's what smart families do. Besides, Nicholas continued, I'd be more worried about your prenup. Did Marcus tell you it's ironclad? You walk away with nothing if you cheat or if the marriage doesn't last 2 years. You're at 18 months. Good luck making it to the finish line now that his company's about to tank. Crystal turned on Marcus with fury in her eyes. Is that true? You told me you'd take care of me. Marcus was sweating now, his expensive suit looking rumpled despite being perfectly pressed an hour ago. Crystal, not now. We can discuss this at home. There might not be a home to discuss it in, Alexander said casually. That penthouse you're so proud of? Mortgaged to the hilt. We checked. You're leveraged on everything, Mr. Thornton. Cars, properties, even your art collection. You've been living beyond your means, hoping to fake it until you make it. But you can't fake your way through this. A well-dressed couple approached, the Hendersons' old money New York society. Mrs. Henderson kissed Elena on both cheeks. Elena, dear, we had no idea you were Martinez. Your mother and I went to boarding school together. You must come to dinner next week. Bring your brothers. I'd love that, Mrs. Henderson, Elena said, genuinely pleased. Thank you. Mr. Henderson nodded to the brothers, then looked at Marcus with barely concealed contempt. Thornton, I believe you approached me last month about joining Riverside Country Club? Application denied. We have standards. They walked away, leaving Marcus looking more destroyed with each passing moment. This was what social death looked like in real time, and everyone was bearing witness. Elena felt her phone buzzing in her clutch. She pulled it out to see a text from her mother. Your brothers just called. Are you all right? Do I need to come down there? She typed back, I'm fine, Mom. The boys are being protective. I'll call you tomorrow. Another text came through. This one from her best friend Zara, who was watching the drama unfold from across the room. Girl, this is insane. Are you okay? Also, your brothers are terrifying. Can I meet them? Despite everything, Elena smiled. Leave it to Zara to focus on the important things. Marcus seemed to gather some courage from somewhere, drawing himself up to his full height. Fine. You want to destroy my business? Go ahead. But you can't change the fact that Elena and I were married for 3 years, and I know the truth about her. She's not this perfect saint you're all making her out to be. Careful. Alexander's voice dropped to a dangerous level. Very careful where you go with this. She's cold, Marcus continued, either brave or stupid enough to keep talking. She never wanted to be a real partner, always keeping secrets, always holding back. A real wife would have told me about her family. A real wife would have trusted me. A real husband would have earned that trust, Elena said quietly. You want to know why I never told you? I'll tell you exactly why, Marcus. Right here in front of everyone. She turned to address the crowd, her voice clear and steady. I met Marcus 5 years ago at an art gallery opening. He was charming, ambitious, and he seemed to genuinely care about my work. We dated for a year before I agreed to marry him. During that entire time, I wrestled with when to tell him about my family. I was terrified that once he knew, everything would change. Elena took a breath, feeling her brother's supportive presence behind her. But I finally decided to tell him on our wedding night. I had this whole speech planned. I was going to explain everything, introduce him to my family properly, bring him into that world slowly. And then, right before I could say anything, he got a phone call. His company had just landed a major contract. And you know what he said to me? Marcus's face had gone pale again. He clearly remembered. He said, Elena, this is just the beginning. Soon we'll be rich enough that you won't have to work anymore. You can quit that gallery job and be a real wife like the women in those business magazines. And I realized in that moment that if I told him the truth, he would never see me the same way again. He would see dollar signs. He would see opportunities. He would see everything except me. The crowd was completely silent, hanging on every word. So I didn't tell him, Elena continued. I kept my secret and I watched as his company grew and his ego grew with it. I watched him become someone I didn't recognize. Someone who measured worth in stock prices and social status. And when he divorced me, citing incompatibility, I knew I'd made the right choice by never telling him, because he proved exactly what I'd feared. He didn't want a partner. He wanted an accessory. Marcus tried one more time. Elena, if you just told me, things could have been different. We could have. Could have what? Elena cut him off. Stayed together because you didn't want to lose access to my family's money? That's not love, Marcus. That's not even close. Sebastian checked his phone and smiled. Well, this is interesting. The stock market's already reacting. Thornton Enterprises stock is down 18% in the last 20 minutes. Apparently, word travels fast that the Martinez family is pulling support. Make it stop, Crystal pleaded with Marcus. Do something. Apologize. Grovel. I don't care. Just fix this. But there was nothing to fix. The damage was done, broadcast to 300 witnesses and probably thousands more by now on social media. Marcus had built his success on networking and reputation, and both were crumbling in real time. Amanda, the event coordinator, approached again with security guards in tow. Mr. and Mrs. Thornton, I really must insist you leave now. You're disrupting the charity event. We're leaving, Marcus said, his voice hollow. He looked at Elena one last time. I am sorry, Elena, for whatever that's worth now. It's worth exactly what it always was, Elena replied. Nothing, because you're only sorry you got caught. You're only sorry there are consequences. You're not sorry for how you treated me. Marcus and Crystal were escorted out, the crowd parting to let them through. The whispers started immediately, a mix of shock, satisfaction, and speculation about what would happen next. As soon as they were gone, Elena felt the adrenaline start to fade, leaving her shaky and exhausted. Alexander immediately noticed, guiding her to a nearby chair. Sit down, Hermana. You're pale. I'm fine, Elena protested. But she sat anyway because her legs felt like jelly. Nicholas appeared with a glass of water and what looked like whiskey. Water first, then whiskey. Doctor's orders. You're not a doctor, Elena pointed out, but she took both glasses. I have an honorary doctorate in taking care of stubborn sisters, Nicholas countered with the first real smile of the evening. Sebastian was on his phone, typing rapidly. I'm doing damage control, making sure our PR team spins this the right way. By tomorrow morning, you'll be portrayed as the humble heiress who tried to live a normal life, only to be betrayed by a gold-digging ex-husband who didn't even know there was gold to dig. That's not entirely fair to Marcus, Elena said weakly. He didn't know about the money. He didn't need to know about the money to treat you with respect, Alexander said firmly. That's the point everyone seems to be missing. Money or no money, you deserved better than what he gave you. Margaret Chen returned with several other business leaders. Elena, I hope you don't mind, but we've been discussing your work at the Riverside Gallery. Your exhibition last year on emerging Latin American artists was groundbreaking. Have you ever considered curating on a larger scale? Before Elena could answer, a distinguished older gentleman stepped forward. Robert Blackwood, director of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Elena's breath caught. He was legendary in the art world. Ms. Martinez, Blackwood said with a slight bow. I've been an admirer of your work for some time. In fact, I've been looking for a new director for our contemporary arts wing. Would you be interested in discussing the position? Elena's eyes widened. The Metropolitan Museum's contemporary arts director was one of the most prestigious positions in the art world. Are you serious? Completely. Your eye for emerging talent is exceptional, and your recent work with community art programs shows the kind of vision we need. Plus, he smiled slightly, having someone with your passion and resources behind our programming would be invaluable. I'd want creative control, Elena said automatically, then blushed. Sorry, that was presumptuous. Not at all. That's exactly the kind of confidence I'm looking for. Let's schedule a meeting next week to discuss details. As Blackwood walked away, Sebastian nudged Elena. See? Good things happen when you stop hiding your light under a bushel. Is that a Bible reference? Nicholas asked. Since when do you quote the Bible? Since I need to make a point to our stubborn sister, Sebastian replied. Amanda, the coordinator, approached again, this time with a smile. Ms. Martinez, I'm so sorry about the disruption earlier. The foundation would like to formally thank you for your generous donation. Would you be willing to say a few words to the guests? Elena looked at her brothers, who all nodded encouragingly. I suppose I should. Alexander helped her stand, and the three brothers formed a protective triangle around her as they walked to the small stage where the podium stood. The crowd applauded as Elena took her position, her brothers standing just offstage but clearly visible as her backup. Elena gripped the podium, looking out at the sea of faces. Some she recognized, many she didn't. All of them were looking at her with new eyes now that they knew who she really was. "Thank you," she began, her voice slightly shaky at first but growing stronger. "I didn't plan on speaking tonight. I didn't plan on a lot of things that happened tonight." A ripple of laughter went through the crowd. "But since I'm here, I want to talk about why I support the Children's Education Foundation. Education was my escape when I was young. Not from poverty or hardship, I acknowledge my privilege there, but from expectations, from the pressure of being a Martinez. Books and art let me be just Elena, exploring ideas and creativity without the weight of my family name." She could see people nodding, relating to the universal desire to be seen for oneself. "That's why I kept my identity private for so long. I wanted to build something of my own, to be valued for my skills and my passion, not my family's wealth. And I succeeded, mostly. I built a career I'm proud of. I curated exhibitions that mattered. I helped artists find their voices." Elena paused, choosing her next words carefully. "But tonight showed me something important. Hiding who you are doesn't make you humble. It doesn't prove anything. It just makes you invisible. And being invisible means you can't help as many people as you could if you stood in your full truth. This story is taking some powerful turns. If you're still with us, show some love by hitting that subscribe button and smashing the like button. We've got even more incredible content coming. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway so far." "So I'm done hiding," Elena continued. "I'm Elena Mercedes Martinez, daughter of Roberto and Isabella Martinez, sister to these three overprotective but wonderful men behind me. I'm an art curator who happens to come from wealth, and I'm going to use every resource I have to make a difference." The applause was thunderous. Elena felt tears prickling her eyes but refused to let them fall. The Children's Education Foundation does incredible work providing scholarships and resources to underprivileged students. But tonight, I want to announce something new. The Elena Martinez Foundation for Women's Independence. Her brothers exchanged surprised looks. This was news to them too. Starting with a $50 million endowment, this foundation will help women leaving difficult marriages rebuild their lives. We'll provide housing assistance, career training, legal support, and counseling. Because no woman should stay in a situation where she's not valued just because she's afraid of being alone or unable to support herself. The crowd erupted again. Elena saw several women wiping their eyes, and she knew her message had landed. "Thank you all for your support tonight, and thank you to my brothers for loving me enough to let me make my own mistakes, and for showing up when I needed you most." She stepped back from the podium to a standing ovation. Alexander immediately pulled her into a hug, followed by Sebastian and Nicholas, the four of them creating a tight circle of family solidarity. "50 million? Alexander murmured in her ear. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Elena replied. "It's time to stop playing small." "That's my girl," Sebastian said proudly. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of introductions, business cards, and sincere congratulations. Elena felt like she was meeting the real New York elite for the first time, not as Marcus's forgotten ex-wife, but as herself. It was overwhelming and exhilarating in equal measure. Around 11, Nicholas checked his phone and frowned. "We've got a problem." "What now?" Alexander asked. "Marcus is outside the building. Apparently he's been trying to get back in for the last hour. Security won't let him." "Good," Sebastian said flatly. "He's making a scene. Says he needs to talk to Elena. It's starting to attract media attention." Elena sighed. "Let him in. I'll talk to him. Maybe if I do, he'll finally leave me alone." "Not alone you won't," all three brothers said simultaneously. 10 minutes later, Marcus was escorted to a private room off the main ballroom. Elena entered with her brothers flanking her like bodyguards. Marcus looked terrible. His tie was loosened, his hair disheveled, and he'd clearly been crying. "Thank you for seeing me," Marcus said, his voice hoarse. You have 5 minutes, Alexander said coldly. Make them count. Marcus looked only at Elena. I'm sorry. I know I already said that, but I need you to know I mean it. Not because of your family or your money. I'm sorry for how I treated you during our marriage. You were right. I became someone I'm not proud of. Marcus, please let me finish. Crystal left me. As soon as we got in the car, she said she wasn't going to be married to a failure and had her lawyer on the phone before we hit the highway. My board called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning, and I'm pretty sure they're going to vote me out. My mother called crying, asking what I'd done to destroy the family business. And my father said he was disappointed in me, not for losing the money, for how I treated you. Elena felt a pang of sympathy despite herself. Marcus, I never wanted to destroy you. I just wanted you to leave me alone. I know, and I will after this. But I need to say this. You were the best thing in my life, and I was too stupid and too arrogant to see it. You loved me when I had nothing. You supported my dreams. You never asked for anything except respect and partnership, and I couldn't even give you that. No, you couldn't, Elena agreed quietly. If I could go back and do it all differently, I would. I would listen when you tried to tell me I was changing. I would value your passion for art instead of dismissing it. I would treat you like the incredible woman you are instead of trying to mold you into someone you weren't. Marcus wiped his eyes. But I can't go back. All I can do is promise that I'll learn from this. I'll be better. Not for another chance with you. I know that's impossible. Just to be a better person than the man who destroyed the best thing he ever had. Elena looked at the man she'd once loved, seeing both who he'd been and who he'd become. I hope you mean that, Marcus. I really do. Because the saddest thing about all of this isn't what happened tonight. It's that you had to lose everything to finally see what really mattered. I know. I forgive you, Elena said, surprising everyone including herself. Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger only hurts me. But forgiveness doesn't mean I'll forget. It doesn't mean we'll be friends. It just means I'm letting go of the power you had over me. Marcus nodded, accepting the boundary. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. As they turned to leave, Marcus spoke one more time. Elena, for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. The foundation standing up to me tonight, everything. You're going to do amazing things. You always were capable of amazing things. I just never got out of the way long enough to see it. Elena didn't respond, just walked out with her brothers, leaving Marcus alone in the room with his regrets. Outside in the hallway, Nicholas was the first to speak. That was big of you, the forgiveness thing. It was for me, not him, Elena said. I refuse to let him take up any more space in my head or my heart. Good, Alexander approved. Now let's get you home. It's been a long night. Actually, Elena said, a small smile playing on her lips, I'd like to get ice cream. There's a place in Brooklyn that's open late. Best chocolate chip cookie dough in the city. Her brothers looked at each other. Then Sebastian shrugged. Ice cream it is. But we're taking the car. I'm not riding the subway in Armani. You're such a snob, Nicholas teased. I'm practical. There's a difference. As they waited for their car, Elena leaned against Alexander. Thank you, all of you, for respecting my boundaries when I asked you to stay out of it, and for showing up when I needed you. That's what family does, Alexander said simply. We might not always agree with your choices, but we'll always have your back. Even when those choices involve secretly marrying beneath your station? Elena teased. Especially then, Sebastian said, because watching you put him in his place tonight was worth the 2 years of restraint. The car arrived and they all piled in. As they drove through New York's glittering streets, Elena felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness exactly, not yet, but peace. The kind that comes from finally standing in your truth, consequences and all. Her phone buzzed with a text from Zara. You're trending on Twitter. Hashtag Martina's sister is #2 nationwide. Also, can you get me Nicholas's number? Asking for a friend. Elena laughed and showed the text to her brothers. Nicholas groaned. Please tell your friends I'm not interested in dating. You've been saying that for 3 years, Sebastian pointed out. Maybe it's time to get back out there, says the workaholic who hasn't had a relationship last longer than 6 months. Nicholas shot back. Both of you are disasters, Alexander said. Elena, you're the only one of us with any sense. I married Marcus, Elena reminded him. My judgment is clearly questionable. You were young and in love, Alexander said. That's different from being fundamentally broken like these two. The bickering continued all the way to Brooklyn, feeling normal and comfortable and exactly what Elena needed. At the ice cream shop, they drew stairs, 3 men in designer suits and a woman in an evening gown, all eating ice cream at midnight. But Elena didn't care. Let people stare. Let them whisper. She was done hiding. As they sat at a sticky table with their ice cream, Sebastian's phone rang. He checked it and smiled. It's the Wall Street Journal. They want an interview with you, Elena. Something about the heiress who chose art over fortune. Tell them I'll think about it, Elena said around a spoonful of ice cream. That's my diplomatic sister, Nicholas approved. They finished their ice cream and drove back to Manhattan, dropping Elena at her apartment building in Soho. It was modest by Martinez family standards, only 1,500 square feet, but it was hers, decorated with art she loved and furniture she'd chosen. Her sanctuary. Do you want us to come up? Alexander asked. Make sure you're settled? I'm fine, Elena assured him. Go home. Get some sleep. I know you all have early meetings tomorrow. Call if you need anything, Sebastian said. Anything at all. I will. I promise. She watched them drive away, then headed up to her apartment. Inside, she kicked off her heels and walked to her bedroom, but stopped at the small home office where she kept her computer. She pulled up her email and started typing. Dear Mom and Dad, I know you've heard about tonight by now. I'm sorry I didn't come to family dinner last Sunday, or the Sunday before that. I was hiding, trying to prove something that didn't need proving. I'd like to come this week, if the invitation's still open. I miss you both. Love, Elena. She hit send, then changed into comfortable pajamas and made herself tea. Settling onto her couch with a book of art criticism she'd been meaning to read, Elena felt her phone buzz one more time. A text from an unknown number. Ms. Martinez, this is Robert Blackwood. I wanted to reiterate my serious interest in bringing you to the Met. Your speech tonight convinced me you're exactly what we need. Please call my office to schedule a meeting. The opportunity is yours if you want it. Elena smiled and set down her phone. Tomorrow she would call Blackwood. Tomorrow she would start planning her new foundation. Tomorrow she would step fully into being Elena Mercedes Martinez. All of her, no more hiding. But tonight, she was just Elena, drinking tea and reading about art, feeling more herself than she had in 5 years. Her phone buzzed one final time. A text from her mother. Dinner is at 6 on Sunday. Your father is already planning the menu. He's making your favorite. We love you, Mija. Always have, always will. Elena felt tears finally fall, but they were good tears. Healing tears. She was going home. Not to hide, not to escape, but to reconnect with the family she'd been holding at arm's length for too long. The story that had started with humiliation in a ballroom had ended with Elena reclaiming every part of herself. Her family, her identity, her power, her future. Marcus had tried to make her small, to diminish her in front of everyone who mattered. Instead, he'd given her the push she needed to finally step into the light. And that's the end of this incredible story. If this resonated with you, do us a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Drop a comment telling us your biggest takeaway. And remember, never let anyone make you feel small. Stand in your truth, embrace your worth, and know that the right people will show up when you need them most. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.